wd folder config loader. So the config system is going to have, like, we're going to make a loader for the config, and then that's going to actually load this stuff in here. So the question is, how do we actually want to set it up? Alright, let's make a class called wd-config, and it's going to tell us what to do. So public static class wd-config. Settings. And public static class wd-config credential settings. Alright, so add So basically what I'm doing is you can use reflection in Java land to read in these sorts of files. And we're going to use the JSON stuff on this. So what we do here is basically we set up our class hierarchy. So and we could just use reflection and slap these things straight across. So we're going to have two different constructors. One is going to, actually why don't we just have a public static make config, create config, default config, and we're just going to return a new config, and our default path is going to be this thing. Hello, Zalibur MC. How's it going? I'm making the config system for my server. At the moment. Alright, so this will be private static final string default config file location equals startup.json. You're from Germany? Well, I am from the west coast of the United States. Alright, so we're going to put together our static stuff. What's your server IP? I'm not telling you that. Alright, so we're going to create our default config, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to load in the file. So I'll just return this this thing right here. So first thing this thing is going to do is it's going to check if the file exists. If the file does not exist, let's just return null and log a warning. Unable to find file. Well, yeah, exactly. I'm like, what are your AWS credentials? To be like, mine are 1, 2, 3, 4, 50. It's a secret to everybody. Alright, so if the file exists, we're going to grab it. Otherwise, we are going to use my serialization from JSON file. So I can give this file location and class. And then we just return new wd config, and we pass in our config. And I do not like using exceptions in Java. For return stuff, like, I just think it's sloppy as all hell. So I'm just using like null return values for things like that. And error codes, stuff like that. Alright, so for this thing, what's the first thing we do is we're going to create our config. So wd config dot create default config. I'll probably put this off in other things. Alright, so we run this, we are going to get startup successful. Yes, very good. So what we're going to need is our config loader. So we're going to need a private wd config loader. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is if config.in_settings.im ec2 equals false, otherwise, so im loader is going to be a new wd folder config loader. Otherwise, im loader equals new wd s3 config loader. And we're going to pass in this reference to this thing, and we're going to expose our configuration. wd config mconfig. Yeah, this is fully stupid, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. And what I want to do here is I want to synchronously load as well. So we're going to want like a blocking load function. Alright, so we're going to do wait for load. We're going to pass in a -1 L. And so if not, then throw a new exception. Failed to load initial configuration. So this thing, we'll have like this thing load up, and then we'll have to wait for it to actually load everything the first time. Alright. So what we're going to need is, this class is going to need to be something we extend from. And I like empty constructors even if there's nothing in them because I'm an idiot. I don't know. There's no real reason for that. Alright, so public, let's see, is the loader itself going to do this, or is the config system going to pump the loader? I think the config system should probably pump the loader. So, our config values are actually going to be a hash map of string to config value? Yeah. And I think that's going to be so when we call like load config values, it's actually going to do stuff. So this is going to be an abstract thing, and this is going to be an abstract class. Alright, so this will be call to load our configuration values. Alright, so our config value, we're going to have like a variant sort of thing. And let's have like a void fill from string name, string value. Alright, so we're going to need our context, our name, and our other stuff. So it's going to be fill from string context, name, value. So context equals context, and name equals name, and stir value equals value, and then Let's see, this is going to be integer.parseInt on the value. And we're just going to eat some of these exceptions because Java's stupid, so we're going to let it be dumb. So this will be float value. I think it's like float.parseFloat. And bool value is going to be, I think, boolean.parseBoolean. Yeah. There we go. Why pick Java then? What is that in? Why pick Java? Because it's real stable for stuff, right? Like it's not gonna crash and explode and burn the house down. It's gonna crash and explode and throw exceptions, and it's real nice for server stuff because it's easy to work with memory and everything. I could use something like C#, but I'm definitely not as familiar with it, so I'm just gonna play to my own strength. Alright, so we'll do extends wd config loader. So we'll implement these methods. Alright, so this will be protected, wd config and parent. Protected so we can actually use it in these things. Alright, so that'll call to load our config values. Alright, so we're gonna do parent dot get what in the fuck? Get config. It's wd config. So conf dot settings dot in root folder. So we'll do string context and all that. Right, so we need a root folder. We need to go through it, snag all the values, and then add them. Alright. Alright, so let's do initialize. Yeah, okay. This will be if conf.settings in root folder equals null. Let's just return new hash map. Otherwise, wd fileutils get files in folder f. Conf.settings in root folder. Let's recurse. Let's see. Alright, so for file f in files, if f dot ends get name dot ends with dot JSON equals false, then continue. So we'll load every JSON file that we possibly have. So I'm going to I'm going to make a hash map here of string to wd config value. And what I'm basically going to do is when I load this thing, I'm going to call into the parent. I'm just going to do append file map, and then I'm going to get the actual string. I'm going to say return value of null is going to be bad, so I'll just do slogger.warn enabled root folder was null for config system. Slogger.warn unable to parse config file f.get absolute path. Alright, append file. It's going to be something that we actually throw into our parent. And this will be called to append a file to our config map. So that's what we'll do. So we'll get all that done there. And that'll load our configs up. Alright, so our S3 config loader is going to be very similar. Alright, so loading the config values. And let's go ahead and snag our got some S3 stuff already there. So okay, so if in S3 equals null, then we're going to try to load it up. Let's just not implement it. Not yet. I don't need to. Alright, so what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to have a thread. Alright, so Alright, we should also perhaps have a name for this. Now let's just throw a name in there. So I'll have a thread here running. So we're going to do a while m running, and you may have noticed m running is actually a volatile variable. It absolutely needs to be. Alright, so let's just have private long m sleep time equals default sleep time, which is going to be private static final long default sleep time equals 30 seconds. And we'll try to load our configs. And one of the very important things with some of these things, if you do like a while running loop or something, make sure to always put your sleep outside of your inner try catch exception, because imagine some issue happens inside of here and it throws an exception out. It's going to form a tight loop of erroring and exploding, and you will not have a server running anymore. So I use this pattern for any like running loops for services and servers, which is you have a thread, you have it running, you can tell it to start and stop itself and all that stuff, and basically do like a while running loop with a try catch in for your basic update tick, and then always have it try catched otherwise outside of it, because otherwise it'll go to the default exception handler, which you don't want. It could just crash out your program. Servers are not like game clients. You want servers to keep running in the face of everything but the most critical error. Just like, even if there's like holes blown in it, it needs to keep trying to truck along. Like servers, it's about uptime. It's not about fixing every error always. It's about getting along sometimes. Just, you know, with a game, usually what you want is it to crash immediately. Like, oh, I stubbed my toe, hard stop, like everything sucks. You want your servers to keep trucking even if their legs get blown off and they have to crawl across the finish line. That's what they gotta do. Alright, so we'll have our stop, so m running equals false. If m thread does not equal null, then alright, shutdown block. I kind of want this to have, wait, what am I doing? Yeah, okay, so if block wthread.join mthread equals null, yeah, and there's no real way to like stop a thread. You don't call like thread.stop, so you have to just let the thread actually run, and you want to check like a while running sort of thing, and then you call interrupt on it. And the reason I usually have the sleep at the top of the loop, but I don't know, you need to make sure that it doesn't, just be careful about your threading stuff. Alright, reload configs needs to call mloader.load config values, and it's hash map string to wd config value. New map equals this. And how we're going to keep this thing thread safe is we are going to just swap references. So we're going to have a private volatile hash map of these wd config values, and it's going to be a read-only map. And then we're just going to swap it at runtime, so all of our access to our variables will work just fine. Alright, so what we need to do is we need to wait for load, so we need like so has loaded is true. So this wait for load, basically we're going to, so if has loaded, return true. Otherwise we are going to while not has loaded wd thread dot wait min wait time. I usually like to protect a lot of these things with static helper functions. So let's see, what should we wait on? We should probably wait on this, this class. Do we need to synchronize on it? And then up here, we can just synchronize on this and do a notify on it. So this guy will do this sort of thing. Alright, so that'll be wait for load. That should just be finished. Sleep time. We're going to want sleep time to be here. And then we're going to want our public string get string value string default. Alright, so we need get string, get int. We're gonna need get float. We need get bool. And we can add like get long and get other things later. Alright, so let's just do wd config value, get value. Let's just have it be get string value. So we're going to return config dot get value. So we'll implement all of our config stuff. And yeah, this is just a whole bunch of boilerplate bullshit, but you need a config system if you're going to run a server. And I mean, you could use tons of stuff. Like you could actually just drop in a config system that already exists or something else. I prefer to write all my own stuff, just because a lot of Java developers will slap in just like 200 million different pieces of open source technology, and then all of a sudden they don't know what the fuck is going on with their program, and it's like, you know, what are you gonna do? For this stuff, I am a fan of, if it's simple enough that you can just pound out the code for it, just go ahead and do that, because it's actually not too bad. And then you know exactly what it's doing, and then you can change it, and then you could debug it. Like when your manager comes and says, "Why the hell's the server crash?" You're like, "Well, because I wrote the crash, and I can go fix it. Hold on." So there's a lot of stuff there. All right. I don't know. I just absolutely hate how people usually write Java code and they slap in all these open source frameworks and then they can't do anything to save their lives. Yeah. And that's kind of the thing, is it really shouldn't be that hard for a lot of these, but when you're using just like 2 million different packages and then like people start using lambdas everywhere and your code goes straight to hell, it's just like, god damn it, like where did we go wrong? Alright, so we got that whole config system, we got our config loader. So to finish this off, all we have to do is implement this parsing of this map, which I forget exactly how to do that. Yeah, and then a lot of the time, Sinocron, you don't even have the source for those packages because the people just pulled in just the binary for it, so you can't even walk through the damn code. You're just left there like scratching your head or scratching something else on you and just being like, well, damn. Alright, so I need the generator had this sort of stuff. Where the hell is it? Is it templating? I think it's in here. Where is it? I need to parse the JSON. It's like JSON object. Where is this? Yeah, there's the code generator tool. Alright, so what this is I need to we have a JSON object. I want string to object. We want to pass this in. Alright, so this is what I want to do. I want to do this hash map, string object, map equals, it should be string. Create map for object. Oh. So this will go through and it's going to make our hash map of string, and it's going to recursively do that. So I need this to take our outer object. Alright, so string inner name equals outer object plus dot plus lm dot get name. It's just object name. Alright, so that'll be the inner name. After, yeah, oh, it was lamb. Yeah, that's some of those where you're just like, what the hell is going on here? Is this all trash? Why, God, have you abandoned me? I'm actually not going to have this return a map. I want this to take a map instead. Alright, so it's basically, if it's a JSON primitive, we're going to grab this thing and we're going to put the name as this thing. Why is this getting all pissed off? Map, inner name, oh. Just like this. Alright, so it's going to be map. I guess null and O. Alright, well, I should have string inner name plus outer object, yeah. Outer object plus dot plus object name if outer object equals null and inner name equals object name. Alright, so that should basically take the name of this thing. Why is this map all pissed off? Alright. And all this JSON stuff can explode at any time, so I'll just wrap this in an exception. Yeah, I was never really a fan of AWS Lambda. I don't know. I'm kind of, I guess, more old school with I like to actually have control over what the hell my code does. And a lot of people don't seem to care about that. You know, like actually understanding what happens all the time. And a little bit too much magic in there. And I'm just like, get me the hell away from this. And Lambda's got that level of magic where I'm just like, nope, nope, I don't like this. Alright, so for entry string elem in raw map dot element entry set. God, it's been a while since I wrote this trash. We're going to put map dot put entry dot get value get key, and we're going to create a new config value. Alright, so that should be good to go. Was it Control Shift R? Or is it Control... What is the rename? Alt Shift R. There we go. Bosses wanted Lambda. Yeah, that's usually since I was the tech lead of those projects, I would just draw the line with my managers and just be like, you are responsible for delivering, like, I'm responsible for delivering this tech here, so let me do it. So if your manager was like riding your ass on it, just be like, look, you can hold me accountable if this doesn't work, but you're gonna have to, like, you can't hold me accountable if it's just your idea, because I think it's stupid, but you can completely hold me accountable for failing if, you let me do what I want here. Otherwise, this is on you. And that usually shut them up pretty good. Be like, all right, we'll give this guy responsibility over this, and if it fucks up, it's his ass. And that worked real well in a corporate setting. You just put your foot down and take responsibility for it. And if it explodes, it explodes, and you're gonna get blamed for it. But there's one thing I always stick to, which is bet on yourself, because you can control your own actions. So alright, let's also be able to get the configs. Alright, so we want a private volatile array list of these as well. Let's config array. Should be new array list. Alright, so let's do array list of wconfig value values equals new array list, and we're just gonna go for entry string wconfig value entry in new map dot entry set values dot head entry dot get value, and then what is it called? Config array equals values. I'm using a lot of shortcuts here to auto import crap and do all sorts of stuff, so I don't think anybody cares about that though. Alright, config.getConfigs. Alright, let's see what we've got rolling around then. Aha, we never called start on it. Unterminated object at line 6, column 3. Kept our manager happy because of free tier? I don't know. That's always... In a real business setting, that sort of stuff should not be an issue. Alright, so it's pissed off that unterminated object at line 6. Let's see, why is this blowing up? So the cool thing is this is actually trying to reload itself, so I can fix this and it should work. Alright, so oh, that's the wrong thing. This is all pissed off because there's no comma here. So I can just go ahead and save this file, and this thing should reload itself and start up successful, and it shut itself down after printing it all out. So config value test nested.test string, test int, test full, test float, test string. So our config system is good to go here. So let's make the S3 version real quick. There it is. This WD property file provider is what I needed. Alright, so what is this? This is credential. Yeah, we want the... I need the property file. And then the bucket. And then the prefix. Alright, so we